My husband of 7 years cheated on me. He quietly transferred all his property and replaced all the jewelry gifts he gave me with fake ones. Even the education fund that we saved for our daughter together was withdrawn by him in advance. Looking at the real goods in the circle of friends of the junior son, my heart is surprisingly not much emotional fluctuations. In order to repay them, I gave my husband another rich woman, Shalsit. My husband cheated on me. When I found out, my mind went blank. Obviously, a second ago, we are still sweetly making telephone kanji, and girlfriends blew to Hainan holiday this half month, Funanka every day to call me, ask me if I have enough money, happy, urge me not to give him to save money. There are things you like to spite by. When I learned that I was coming back today, I specially arranged for my assistant to pick me up. After getting off the plane, but also special to give me a phone call, told me the assistant in the nearest exit from my exit waiting for me, so that I do not carry their own heavy things. One word and one action, no matter what. Even Lon Lon Du, a celibate, was very envious of me, saying that I had found a truly wonderful husband, married for 7 years, treating me as always. I have always been proud and happy to have found such a mate. I never thought that Fu Nanhui, who treated me so well, would betray me. Until I came back from traveling and found a strange lipstick under the bed. A big brand of 999 red, eye-catching and flamboyant, not believe in low-key I will like the color. Fu Nanhui knows me, and never send me such a color number of lipstick. What's more, this lipstick is still used. At that moment, because of his meticulous care and filled with sweet heart gradually sank. I don't know how long I was lost in thought, but when I came back to my senses, my legs were already too numb to stand. Slowly standing up, outside the corridor, the bellhop nanny Sister Lu was mopping the floor. Sister Lu, have you bought any new lipstick lately? I leaned against the door and asked, feigning ignorance. Maybe I misunderstood. I kept reassuring myself. Oh yo, I don't like the lipstick ones we clean at work. How bad it is to accidentally rub it anywhere. Don't worry, madam, the gold medal nanny, definitely have the most professional ethics. By the way, madam, do you and Mr.'s room need to be cleaned? Mr. doesn't like to be disturbed when he works, so I didn't go in these days. In an instant, the heart that was still holding a glimmer of hope completely sank. The eyes were so sore that they wanted to shed tears. Fu Nanhui, my Mr. Nice Guy for 7 years, seems to have really cheated on me. I let Sister Lu clean the room thoroughly, and went to the guest room next to me to sleep. When I woke up, Sister Lu was already gone. The lights were on in the living room downstairs, and Fu Nanhui was sitting on the sofa watching TV. Seeing me coming downstairs, he quickly picked up the roses placed on the coffee table and quickly greeted me and handed the flowers to me. Welcome home from your trip, madam. If you don't come back, I'm going to miss you to death. I took the delicate roses in front of me, but in my heart, there was not much joy in the past. In my mind, the used lipstick kept coming back. Seeing that I was silent, he pulled me to sit down on the sofa and pinched my shoulders. Are you tired from this trip? Once you came back, you slept for a long time, and you don't look in very good spirits. It's all my fault. If I wasn't too busy and didn't have the time, I could have accompanied you myself, so you wouldn't have to worry about anything and wouldn't be tired. Lean back for a little while longer, I'll press it for you. I've ordered Liangchen's seafood congee, it'll be here later. He rambled on, but I didn't have much energy to speak. I just leaned back against the back of the sofa and looked at him sideways. Having been married for 7 years, the years didn't seem to have done anything to his handsome face, only adding a few hints of maturity and steadiness to it. That handsome face as before, at this time is full of care for me. Just like back then, as if it has never changed. Married for 7 years, Fu Nanhui and I have always been the most envied pair by everyone around us. Most of the couples who got married at the same time have their own conflicts, and some have even chosen to divorce and go their own way because of some conflicts. We are the only ones who have never had any major conflicts, and our relationship is even better than when we first got married. Occasionally some small conflicts. He will always take the initiative to communicate with me before the outbreak of conflicts, and I work together to solve the problem. Various festivals, he will carefully prepare gifts for me. Going out to play, he will unconsciously worry about some matters for me. I do not feel well. He is more worried than anyone else, sleepless all night to guard me. I never doubted that he loved me yet. But it turns out, love can also fade. The next day, I got up early and sent Fu Nanhui out. Yesterday he came back early. Today he needs to go early to deal with the rest of the work. The roses he gave me yesterday have been trimmed and put in a vase by Sister Lu, and they still look very colorful. The greeting cards were placed on the coffee table as usual by Sister Lu because I had instructed her to do so. I like to collect those cards with blessings written on them as a testimony of our happiness. The flowers this time were the same as before, from a well-established florist that operated well in Hangzhou. Fu Nangui is a long-lasting person. Clothes will always wear only a few fixed brands. Eat often go to those. Even choose flowers. Also like to order in the same florist. Friends often joke that such a man once in love with a person will not easily change heart. I have always thought so, and feel complacent about it. But I forgot that just because you don't change your mind easily doesn't mean you won't. I followed the name of the shop on the back of the card and found the contact information for the florist on a group that. Beep. The not-so-long beep sounded and was quickly answered. Hello, this is Happiness Flower Shop. Hello. 2 days later on Tanabata, our President Fu needs to order roses. Okay, still the same as before. Order 2 bunches, one for Miss He-jin and one for Miss Yu Weiwei. Right. Just like that, simply, I learned the name of the person Fu Nangui was cheating on. In that instant, the sinking heart finally fell to the ground, but it smashed down heavily, dripping with blood. Fu Nangui is still the Fu Nangui that I understand that does not care about the trouble, even send flowers, but also too lazy to pick a second place. But Fu Nangui is no longer the Fu Nangui that only belongs to He-jin. The tears fell to the ground and quickly melted into the carpet. It was as if it never existed. Following the address and phone number on the back of the bouquet of roses, I easily found this girl named Yu Weiwei. She was a shopper at a well-known luxury shop. When I went over, she was introducing a necklace to a customer with a smile. Her fair and compact melon face didn't have many traces of grease and powder, and with her pretty features, it added a bit of delicate and eye-catching feeling. A slim blue uniform on her body, flora and fauna, will be her whole person set off very energetic. Indeed, very young. I did not say anything, quietly stood aside and waited for her to finish communicating with the customer, and it was as if she did not see me. It wasn't until the customer paid the bill and left that she gave me a look, and that smile on her face got even bigger. You're finally here. You did it on purpose. Thinking about it at this moment, the missing lipstick was indeed too much of a coincidence. Of course. I just didn't think you'd realize until now. You're even dumber than I thought. She hugged her arms and scanned me up and down, and more common. Huh, I laughed under my breath. You're also more brazen than I thought. Didn't your parents teach you that robbing someone is a very unethical and uneducated thing to do? But I don't consider it robbing. There's no order in relationships. It's the unloved who are the mistresses, and right now you're the one who's boring Nangui. She flicked her nails arrogantly, and then laughed as if she thought of something. By the way, that bed in your house, it's not very comfortable. Even if I already knew everything before coming here and told myself over and over again to be calm, but at this moment, an unspeakable feeling of stifling pain still came from my heart, and the 2 fingernails unconsciously sank into the flesh. So you think that you will definitely win? I looked at her coldly. Of course. Fine, then let him tell you himself who the winner is. I took out my mobile phone and dialed Fu Nangui's number. Hubby, come to the third floor Yishang Jewelry. Fu Nangui's company was located in the Dingtian building across the street. When I came over, I happened to run into him and his colleagues eating on the ground floor over here. Everything was so coincidental, as if it was prearranged. Calling Fu Nan returned was an impulsive decision that I made in the heat of the moment, but I don't regret it. When Yu Weiwei heard my words, there was a moment of dismay and nervousness, which quickly turned into mockery. You don't think that you can still have Nan Gui at your beck and call right now, do you? Jean, I didn't expect you to still be so heavenly when you're 30. Wife, why did you suddenly think of coming to buy jewelry? Before Yu Weiwei could finish her words, Fu Nanhui walked in it. The two of them looked at each other with 4 eyes, and a strange atmosphere flowed between them. I clearly saw that Fu Nangui's face, which had always been calm, extremely quickly flashed a flash of weakness. With my nails piercing hard into my palms, I tried to control myself to ask in a still calm tone, Hubby, do you and this young lady know each other? Why do I get the feeling that there's something weird going on between you two? Oh, it's nothing. You know, my company is nearby. I often come over here to eat with De Zhang and the others, so I might have bumped into them like this. His tone was very calm, as if he really didn't know each other well. If I didn't know the truth beforehand, I should really believe it, I thought. Which one do you fancy? I'll buy it for you. He walked closer and wrapped his arms around my waist, his tone intimate. I raised my hand, revealing the plain ring on my hand that was already a little worn. The wedding ring you gave me back then. I suddenly realized that it was a little worn, so I came to see if I could fix it. This ring was still the one we picked out together when we got married. At that time, he is still only a small staff, income is not high. In Hangzhou, this kind of consumption is relatively high. City life overall is still a little hard. I was afraid that he was difficult, insisted on picking an inexpensive plain ring, and told him that I liked this simple and generous style. He did not say anything at the time, out of the shop, but for the first time hugged me crying, lying on my shoulder, tears percolate down. For a long time, he choked and promised me, Jane, I will never fail you in this life. When I have money, I'm going to buy you the most beautiful diamond ring in the world. This ring meant something different to us. So even when we had the money to buy better ones later, we always had this ring with us and never thought of changing it. Until last year, when he lost his diamond ring after a drunken night out. At that time, he was full of guilt and apologized to me over and over again, although I felt pity, but in the end did not say anything. Now that I think about it, perhaps at that time, everything had been foreshadowed, just I have not been aware of it. After all, it's been 7 years, it's normal to have flaws. I'll buy you a new one. Fu Nangui's voice awakened me, who was immersed in memories. Right, Miss He, this kind of ring of yours has long been outdated and should have been replaced long ago. Why don't you take a look at this one? She took out a huge pigeon egg diamond ring. This one is high-profile, luxurious, eye-catching, and most importantly, youthful. She emphasized the word youthful. I knew she was implying something, but I didn't want to do what she wanted. I don't like it. Fashionable also means outdated fast. There's no collector's value. I pointed to another ring inlaid with jadeite jade. I prefer this kind of classic model left by the old ancestors. Low-key with connotation, will never depreciate in value. Hubby, what do you think? As the words fell, I turned sideways to look at Fu Nanhuit. Oh, of course, what you like is the best. I once said that I would buy you the best-looking diamond ring in the world. Trouble, swipe your card. He very decisively bought the jade ring for me, and then sent me home without even looking back at Yu Weiwei. It was as if in this battle between Yu Weiwei and I, he chose me without hesitation. But I clearly perceive that there is not a single trace of emotion called happiness in my heart. In the evening, Fu Nangui unexpectedly went home very early, just after 5 o'clock. He said that he just happened to have an appointment with a client to talk about business in the neighborhood, and when he finished, he went home, just to pick up his daughter Jojo with me. After getting on the car, I directly leaned on the car seat and closed my eyes to sleep. For a time, the car is very quiet. After a long time, Funan Gue took the initiative to open his mouth. Wife, I'm sorry. But no matter what I did, in my heart, the most important thing is always you and my daughter. I will never forget the happiness of that moment when we came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau together with the marriage certificate, as well as the satisfaction of us welcoming our daughter's arrival together. I closed my eyes and didn't speak. A tear slid down my cheek into the car seat. Soon arriving at the school, my daughter, Jojo, saw her dad, and the first time she jumped into his arms and hugged him happily. Daddy, Daddy, I missed you so much. Dad also missed Boat. Sorry. Dad is too busy at work. There is no way to pick you up every day. He picked up Jojo and tenderly touched her head. It's okay. Mom says Dad is working hard for our family. Dad is a big hero. Jojo waved her hand and came up to give Funan Gue a kiss on the cheek. Mom and Dad, you guys hold me. I want to walk between you. Jojo quickly struggled to get down from Funan Gue's arms and held us left and right, wobbling forward. The mouth also sang happily. La 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 la, we are a happy family. When she met students she knew, she would happily introduce them. This is my mom and dad. They came to pick me up. I watched this scene. My eyes once again become sour. Inner, originally high-built, that solid city wall also has a tendency to fall. The boat is very understanding. Funan Gue work is busy, early morning and late night, seldom go to pick up her. Most of the time I go to pick up, occasionally I went out, is the nanny yet to go. I and Funan Gue together to pick up and drop off very few times. Since childhood there have not been a few times. In this regard, Boat has never taken the initiative to ask for anything, and even knowingly said that he came back with the nanny aunt will be fine. I also said that I gave her to download the anti-fraud video she has watched. Absolutely will not be cheated by strangers. Let me and Funan Gue rest assured. But it turned out that she was so expecting her mom and dad to show up together to pick her up. Her happiness is really simple. When I was little, my mom and dad divorced very early, and then had their own families, and I've been the extra one ever since, being pushed away from each other by my mom and dad, and forced to understand things early. Is it possible that now I'm going to make Cho-Cho live like that too? No, never. For the next whole month, Funan Gue did not go to see Weiwei again. After work, he is always the first time to go home. Occasionally work overtime will also send microblogging messages and positioning pictures to me. When he got off work early, he would accompany me to pick up Jojo, or accompany Jojo to play parent-child games, or cook with me. We tacitly agreed not to mention Yu Weiwei anymore. It was as if all that had happened before had never happened. I know that Funan Gue is in action to ask me for peace. He is trying to salvage this relationship. During this time, I lived a very tangled and painful life. All along, I have never doubted the feelings of Funan Hui and me. So the moment I found out that Funan Gue had cheated on me, I felt like the sky was going to fall. I want to, regardless of rushing to Funan Hui's company to make a scene, to question why he cheated, why betrayed our commitment, why cannot think more for our daughter. But after the return of reason, I clearly understand that it is useless to make a scene. As my best friend Blue said, this will only push Funan Gue farther and farther away, pushing us to a more disastrous end for each other. And this ending, I do not know if I can afford it. Luckily, between Yu Weiwei and I, Funan Hui chose me and didn't let me fall into an even more embarrassing situation. But I wasn't happy at all. Not at all. Even though I know very well that I still love him. But I know that this love can no longer be as pure as before, just like a broken mirror. Put together again will not be flawless. Now I'm thinking more about my daughter's happiness and future. Maybe it's not so bad to live in mutual respect. How to live a day is not to live it. Funan Gue is already too good compared to others. I comforted myself with this. I thought, our days will continue like this. If I didn't find out that Funan Gue had transferred all of our marital property long ago. In the month and a half after I found out that he had cheated on me, despite his obvious and upright attitude of seeking peace, a hint of insecurity often lingered within me. My best friend Blue suggested that I should not choke on it, but I should also have my own plans and save more money for my daughter Jojo. So I decided to Fu Niangui sent me that emerald ring worth 1.2 million yuan and part of the previous precious ornaments into the bank, as part of the daughter's education fund. Daughter Jojo was born when we were in the best of relationships, and after she was born, we couldn't get enough of her. In order to make her future life more secure, Fu Niangui and I decided to save an education fund for her every 6 months until she reached the age of 18, as a backing for her free choice when she grows up. Even in the most difficult year of our life, this education fund we have not broken. Later, Fu Nanki's work became more and more successful, and the workplace rose again and again. Our investment together is also getting better and better. This education fund is also therefore more and more save more and more. Jojo is 5.5 years old this year. That fund now has more than 3.6 million. Save more and perhaps that inner turmoil will be less. Only, I didn't expect that the staff would soon return with the jewelry again, with a look of embarrassment on their faces. I'm sorry, Ms. He, these jewelries are all imitations, and their value may not be high. What did you say? I looked up in dismay, only to feel a buzzing rumble fill my head. All these things you have are fake. The staff member carefully repeated again. The crowd coming and going around me seemed to be casting glances at me, seemingly in mockery and pity. I held onto the sofa behind me and took several repeated deep breaths before barely calming down. What about the education fund on the account? I heard my unusually hard voice. The $3.65 million in education funds on this account was withdrawn early by your husband 8 months ago, and the balance on the account today is $32.54. 32.54. 32.54. I mumbled that number several times, only to feel a blackout and gasp for air. I don't know how I got home. I just felt suddenly very, very tired. When I got home, I slept hard. When I got up, I suddenly had a high fever, and it repeated several times, and I stayed in the hospital for a week before I got completely well. Within this week, Fu Niangui was still very concerned about me. He brought me breakfast every morning before going to work, and came over to keep me company as soon as he got off work, and even when he paid the bills and got medicine, he never had to worry about me. An elder sister in the same ward was envious and praised me for finding a good husband. Even the nurse in charge of this ward praised us for our good relationship. I didn't know what to say, but only smiled bitterly. Is it possible to tell others that this seemingly affectionate man has actually betrayed me long ago? I have always thought that I still understand Fu Nanka, but time and time again the facts tell me that I was wrong and wronged. I never understood how a person can disguise to this point. Even love can pretend so real, not only fooled me, but also fooled the onlookers. So how real was his deep love for me in the beginning? Or was it all an act from the beginning? Perhaps I was the only one who took it seriously from start to finish in this play called Loved. Fortunately, I am not too late to wake up. Isn't it just an act? Fu Niangui, I will accompany you to the end. I soberly accompanied Fu Niangui to play this husband and wife love scene, while using the name of shopping to find girlfriend Blue to help plan. After learning about what Fu Nanhui had done, Lon Lon cursed all 8 generations of Fu Nanhui's ancestors and hugged me heartily to comfort me. Ah, Jean, it was never your fault. If you want to blame it on Fu Niangui. This bitch is too capable of pretending. Damn, hard acting for so long. This kind of scum must be retribution. Doesn't he like to find mistresses? Then let's help him find one too. After the sadness, the opposite is extremely calmed. I no longer look forward to those cheap feelings, but belongs to me and my daughter's property. I must get back. After all, Fu Nanhui can have all this today. Mostly rely on my father's promotion. Back then, Fu Nan returned to just an ordinary college student in Hangzhou, and I happened to be divided into the same part of the internship. My father, on the other hand, was the general manager of that company. In order to better integrate into the company, I hid my relationship with my father and other new colleagues to work together diligently as a small staff. In this process, we inevitably encountered some from the workplace old man intentionally or unintentionally suppression, is Fu Nangui, many times to help and encourage me. As a result, my relationship with Fu Nanka is getting better and better. Half a year later, we became lovers. A year later, we got married. Although I later found Fu Nangui had long inadvertently discovered the relationship between my father and me, I have never thought much about it. When I was young, I always felt that there is love as long as two people truly love each other. They do not care about everything outside, namely Fu Nanki's conditions, and I am the only daughter compared to a lot worse. I do not care. Father did not agree at first. I persuaded my father. Just our own family conditions have been enough for me to live a good life. The important thing is still character. After marriage, my father observed 2 years. Found Fu Nangui is really good for me, assured. Began to vigorously promote him. 2 years ago my father retired sick, but also to support him to sit in his own position. And I was pregnant. It was Fu Nangui in the name of heartache to persuade me to give up my job to go home to raise the baby. I have not been able to go back to work because I have to raise the child, and the child cannot leave the parents. Now 2 years passed. My father has passed away. The people who followed him in the past has almost been dispersed to clean. Fu Nanka has long been sitting firmly in the general manager of this position. Perhaps it is for this reason Fu Nanhui will be so emboldened. But I am not willing. In order not to hurt Fu Nangui's self-esteem, my father funded for me to buy this wedding house, written in my name and Fu Nangui, 2 people. Over the years, some of the common investment in our marriage is also handed over to Fu Nanhui to take care of. And Fu Nanki's salary and other income, these money, should have me and my daughter shared. Now he relies on the nest's success, but wants to kick me away, which is so good. With the help of Blue, we customized a perfect junior for Fu Nankat. At first, because of love, I magnified all the advantages of Fu Nangui, but now Fu Nangui's various behaviors make me unafraid to speculate on him with the greatest malice. He planned all this and took great pains to act with me. I don't think it's because of how much he still loves me in the end. It's still for the money and power. Then, when someone who can bring him money and power appears, I believe he won't be unmoved. Yu Weiwei said that she and Fu Nangui are in true love. I also want to see how much weight this so-called true love has. So Sophie, the charming widowed young woman, appeared. In the setting, she was a good friend of Blue and I for many years, studied abroad in college and stayed in the region, married to a rich man with considerable assets. When the tycoon died, their only child stayed with the tycoon's parents, and she returned to China with a large inheritance to live on her own. When Lan Lan and I received her as well as made the appointment, Fu Nanhui was aware of all of it under my intentional disclosure. Therefore, when I brought Sophie back to my home and said that Sophie hadn't found a suitable house for the time being and needed to stay in our home for a while, Fu Nanchi was very happy. And Sophie, in the period of time living in my house, showed a broad-mindedness consistent with the persona, designer bags, jewelry, star restaurants. All kinds of consumption eyes do not blink. Hey, Sophie's sister's days are too comfortable now, really enviable. When I washed up at night, I purposely sighed in front of Fu Nanhui. Fu Nanka heard this, circled my waist from behind, and said in a jealous tone, Xiaojin, are you not in love with me? Even envy other people's dead husbands, hey? Everything about his behavior was normal. Even Sophie's secret, intentionally or unintentionally goodwill, Fu Nanhui did not respond once. You say, is it because he and Yu Weiwei are really true love? That's why he won't be tempted by Sophie at all? I leaned over the railing and looked at the foggy lake in the distance. True love, a cheating man would still have true love? I'm more inclined that Fu Nan returned some scruples. That's why he didn't respond. Lon Lon rationally made an analysis. What's more, he didn't respond, but he didn't reflect Sophie's situation to you either, did he? Don't say anything about him thinking for you for fear of affecting your sisterhood with Sophie. Sometimes a man's non-rejection is also a kind of ambiguity. So I decided to let Sophie move out. It's time for her to find a house. I think I guessed what Fu Niangui was concerned about. The house Sophie found was just across the street in the Linjiang Shui Yuan Villa area. In my place but live more than a month, Sophie has already added a lot of clothes and jewelry. On the day of the move, Fu Niangui did not know if he was avoiding suspicion or was really busy with work and was not at home, so naturally he did not know where Sophie's new home was. When he came home from work, Sophie had already moved out, to which Fu Niangui said nothing, as if Sophie's entire appearance and departure had no impact on his life. If 2 weeks later, he did not have a coincidental encounter with Sophie and did not go along with Sophie's invitation to go in and have a drink in Sophie's room. It turned out that it was me that Fu Niangui was jealous of. He quietly transferred all the property and threw the fake jewelry ring statement to obtain my forgiveness, but still not enough, always on guard against me, afraid of Sophie as I set a trap against him. When Sophie moved out and slowly lost contact with him, confirmed that Sophie is not the person I found, he finally relieved. Such a big pie, he was not willing to give up for nothing. The next period of time, he overtime a little more often. Through the glass of the villa across the street, I saw him enter the courtyard and couldn't wait to hold Sophie and kiss passionately, lingering. Sophie is not as good-looking as me, also not as young as Yu Weiwei, but Fu Niangui is still for Sophie cold Yu Weiwei. Perhaps Fu Niangui, looking for her less time, appeasement is not so attentive. Yu Weiwei panicked. She thought Fu Niangui, determined to return to the family, so once again looking for me. She added me with an unfamiliar WeChat through the account search, and in the message box, there was only one sentence. You think that you have one. Friends circle is a few very familiar jeweler pictures, those I was replaced with the real thing of jeweler. After the passage, she sent a number of messages one after another. They lie together in my bedroom, 10 fingers crossed tightly held together in the photo. There is a Ferris wheel at the highest place of sweet kissing photo. The latest one is Fu Niangui in front of her face to buy me that green to glowing emerald ring. He said he gave me his heart and all. Let him go, he's only happy when he's with me. I looked at these real goods in the screen and smiled. It turned out that all the jewelry I had been replaced by Fu Niangui, he had given to Yu Weiwei. What a true love. I just don't know, this true love, how much is it worth? Sophie and Fu Niangui together in a few months. For Fu Niangui spent a lot of money. The feelings of the two people are getting stronger and stronger. In the circle of friends, Yu Weiwei sunshine, all kinds of jeweler frequency is also higher and higher. Fu Niangui still calmly, and I play the drama, playing the role of a somewhat busy but very caring partner's husband. Except for Yu Weiwei, everyone seems to be in harmony. Until Sophie had a foreign investment project that lacked funds. Before that, Sophie had already invested 20 million in it, and this 20 million turned into 23 million after 3 months, and it continues to rise wildly. In just 3 months, there has been a 15% gain, which is enough to make people excited and crazy. Sophie did not invite Fu Niangui together, just made a few phone calls to find friends to get money together, want to get enough money to 100 million and then put it in. 28 million of the funding gap. Not much to say less is not less, just Fu Niangui efforts to put together an amount that can be taken out. Fu Niangui finally moved in Sophie and one of the friends before the first to get the qualification of the investment. Soon, the private detective sent photos of him secretly selling jewelry. Among them, including that imperial green emerald ring and part of the jewelry that originally belonged to me. Ridiculous is that Yu Weiwei's latest friend circle, selfie on the wrist, still carries the bracelet that has been resold. What's more, perhaps Fu Niangui's return to let her have confidence. After learning that Fu Niangui is in urgent need of money, She will also be all of their own savings along with the loans of close people are given to Fu Nangui. She didn't know that the true love she believed in would be worthless at the critical moment. After Fu Nanki's money came in, Sophie didn't disappear the first time. When the two of them were in the middle of their relationship, I guided Yu Weiwei to meet them. Fu Nangui, who is she? Yu Weiwei immediately broke down and rushed up to question. Nangui, this is? On one side was almost all of her family, and on the other side was her so-called true love. Faced with Sophie's question, Fu Nangui chose to abandon Yu Weiwei without hesitation. A colleague I know is just a colleague. I guess there's something looking for me. I'll go and deal with it. Fu Nanhui answered Sophie in a calm tone and pulled Yu Weiwei away. Fu Nangui, I'm just a colleague? Do you have a new love? Yu Weiwei angrily questioned. But this time, Fu Nanhui didn't coax her, but pinched the bridge of his nose impatiently. So what if I am? You, the old love, have stayed by my side long enough, and should have consciously retired long ago. How can you? You do this to me? You clearly said that you would marry me after you divorced He-Jin. How could you not keep your word? I also borrowed so much money for your investment. You can't be like this. Can't be like this. Did I say those words? Who can prove it? Fu Nangui shook off Yu Weiwei's hand and turned to leave. Fu Nangui, aren't you afraid that I'll expose all this? Iuwi Eshed. You go ahead, but do you have to think about what identity you are exposing yourself in? A third party who can't see the light of day. Fu Nangui laughed coldly and didn't even turn around, letting Yu Weiwei fall into place, hysterical. The seemingly unbreakable relationship of true love between the two was shattered just like that. Yu Weiwei later looked for Fu Nangui many times, but every time he was avoided. When she went to the company to block him, she was always dragged away by the security guards at the first time. She then realized that, originally, when Fu Nangui did not take the initiative to contact her, it was very difficult for her to find him. The most desperate thing was that when her friends started to call in the debt over and over again, and she had to sell the jewelry Fu Nangui had given her for money, only to find out that those were fake. What about this one? Look at this one again. Against the strange gazes of the people around her, she rummaged through one piece after another. Sorry, these are all fake. In the end, she collapsed beside the counter of the luxury appraisal in despair, murmuring uncontrollably, It can't be real. Obviously mine is the real one. Soon, she again seemed to think of something. Her face became more and more pale, crying and laughing like a madman. She went to find Fu Nangui, but Fu Nangui didn't admit any relationship with her at all. So far, Yu Weiwei not only spent all her savings, but also got into arrears. Because of the inability to pay off the arrears, her friends and she also had a very unpleasant, and finally her friends to her place of work, will be her as a mistress of the thing publicity. Her job is also gone. The basket is empty, lost a wife and soldiers. In the end, she can only turn to her family, gray back to her hometown. Before returning home, she came to me once, but I did not see her. Apology or resentment, I do not need. I never pitied her either. Because if I hadn't found out in time, I would have been the one who ended up in this situation. Sophie disappeared half a month after Yu Weiwei and Fu Nanhui broke up. The day before, Fu Nangui and Sophie together to check the return on investment, dreaming of doubling the return after a year. The next second, he could not contact Sophie. All of his contact information was blocked out by Sophie. He went to Sophie's rented house to look for her, but was informed by the landlord that the house had expired. He finally realized that he had been cheated, and tried like crazy to contact her by all means, but finally learned that Sophie had left the country a day earlier. At that very moment, the head office of his company receives a report about his promiscuous relationship with a man and a woman, as well as using his work to take kickbacks and other related information. His position as general manager, is also gone. The company left him with the last honor of leaving the company. But what he did in the industry has been spread. His reputation stank. It was simply impossible to find an equivalent job in the future. I was sitting on the sofa watching TV when he came back from the company with his stuff in his arms in a state of disarray. Wife, I have nothing left, I only have you. Before he could finish his sentence, I handed him the divorce papers in my hand. Wrong, I don't belong to you either. Wife, you are. He tried his best to restrain his twitching cheeks and made a sad face, but the two hands pounding at his side were merely squeezed into fists. There is no need to act, Fu Nangue, I know it all, divorce. I directly interrupted his performance. You. He-jin, so you did all this. His face changed a few times, and he quickly thought of the trick. I don't know what you're talking about. I just couldn't stand my cheating husband anymore and wanted a divorce. I leaned back against the sofa and leisurely said, Fu Nangue, painful? Angry. Just doubling back. Regardless of how Fu Nangue entangled and hysterical, there are 2 times he cheated on his husband and cohabited with other people within the marriage of the evidence in. I easily sued for divorce. And because Fu Nangue prior to the transfer of property, so we divided the common property part is not much. He did not get much of anything. Even as the party at fault, he still need to compensate me as well as pay for the maintenance of the daughter after. 8 years ago, he was all alone in Hangzhou, penniless. 8 years later, he is still alone and penniless. Rightfully so.